I'm Brian Schneider with Mid-Hudson Injury Law. Today we're going to talk about 3 hard cases that have crossed my desk or come through my office over the years, one of which I've gotten calls about very recently. I wish, as a personal injury lawyer, I had the luxury of taking nothing but spectacular, great cases with people who are suffering catastrophic injuries and they will need lifelong financial support. Naturally, I've had some of those cases, but a lot of cases don't rise to that level of seriousness, or we'll say perfection for lack of a better word. So, beware of the lawyers who have the quote unquote perfect track record. Sometimes that might reflect that they have the luxury of only working on the best cases, which naturally every lawyer wants. But there are a lot of lawyers, myself included, who have to extend themselves and push the boundaries and push the limits for the clients who are badly injured or in a really tight spot, but need someone to reach a little above and beyond to try to make something constructive and positive happen for them. I'm not suggesting I'm looking to excuse someone's bad conduct or bad decision making or bad judgment. Sometimes the system does that for me after I try. But at the same time, there can be more than one cause of an accident. We've talked about this before in other videos. And now I'm going to focus on 3 examples of some pretty tough situations where I've been fortunate enough to get to secure some good results for people in those circumstances. Number 1, the left turn case. I've had a couple calls about this lately. People get badly injured when they're making a left turn without the right of way or perhaps against traffic. It's a rare day when someone who's making a left turn has the right of way. And by that, I mean, think about your driver's ed example with 4 cars approaching a 4-way intersection with 2 going straight, one making a right turn, one making a left turn. They all arrive at the intersection at the same time. The person who wants to make the left turn will be the last to go. They will have the last priority, if you will, in the right of way scenario. But what happens if I get that call? Someone makes a left turn in front of oncoming traffic and gets creamed and gets badly hurt. Is that a case? Well, the answer is it depends. It very well could be. What does the evidence show about the oncoming car? Was the oncoming car speeding? Was there a bend in the road? Was there any video recording of the accident? Is there one of the things I've learned about recently is maybe someone in a oncoming car had a Life Touch app activated at the time, which would be able to recall the rate of speed perhaps that the vehicle was traveling in. There are other evidentiary ways to go about it, but there are possibilities in scenarios which might seem otherwise bleak or challenging. Again, I can't promise or guarantee it's going to work out, but if the case is serious enough, it's worth an evaluation. It's worth a call or a sit down with me if you find yourself in that situation. A second example of a very difficult case is the young child darting out between 2 parked cars into oncoming traffic. What happens when that oncoming driver who's going the speed limit inside, say, like a city speed zone of 25 or 30 miles an hour or even less, and is doing everything right, but a 5-year-old chases a ball or a dog into the street and that person has little or no time to stop? I've had that case. I've represented that child before. And again, a very difficult case, but there are ways to prove circumstantially that perhaps the oncoming car should have been a little more cautious and a little more careful, even though they might have been doing everything you would expect them to do under the circumstances. For example, did they notice any children playing up and down the sidewalks as they approached the accident location? Did they hear anything? Did they have their windows down? Again, none of these things are foolproof, 100% bulletproof ways to secure a result in those circumstances. But when the injuries are serious enough and the facts are dramatic enough, it's at least worth a phone call and a consultation. Don't necessarily chalk it up to just a terrible accident, especially when the medical bills can be astronomical and the injuries can have long-lasting effects. As I tell people all the time when I'm in there, when I'm meeting with them and they're in my office, it's just money. It's a rare day when civil personal injury cases involve criminal conduct. There are those cases, of course, but if assuming the standard bread and butter personal injury case with a difficult liability situation or scenario, it's just money, and it's worth at least someone's time to sit down and go over your options with you, especially when you have children who have suffered terribly under those circumstances. A third and final example of a very tough case is what happens when you're a passenger in your friend's car and a deer jumps out in front of you on the highway or on the throughway. Is that a case? Well, again, the answer is it depends. What was the speed limit? What were the lighting conditions? Did the driver notice to herd a deer at any time before the deer jumped out? Was there signage? Were there other vehicles slowing down to make the effort to avoid striking an animal? The last couple of situations or scenarios, the kid darting out between two parked cars and the deer jumping out in front of an oncoming vehicle, those are generally qualified as emergency situations. That could also move the needle as to how the driver's liability will be examined and scrutinized by a judge or a jury. But the gist of the emergency situation and the emergency doctrine, which follows as a matter of law in those cases, is pretty much as follows. The driver's circumstances or the way the driver was operating his or her vehicle at the time of the accident will be examined within the context of the emergency situation that it was. Is that different from someone who's just cruising along a city street, mind, being careful, being mindful, seeing what there is to be seen and going the speed limit? Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, a driver who's involved in an accident under what we'd consider more contemporary normal circumstances is going to be evaluated in a far different light than someone who has to jam on the brakes to avoid hitting a 4 or 5 point buck in the middle of the highway after going 65 miles an hour. Totally different circumstances. Unfortunately, a lot of those scenarios, the left turn, the kids between two cars, the deer situation, they can usually involve some very, very serious injuries, often at even high impact. It can be a real world of hurt for the injury victims, their families, their parents, depending on the situation. Again, those cases aren't silver bullets for anything other than just naturally a lot of work and a lot of probably anxiety on top of all the other misery and injuries that might have been sustained by people in those circumstances. I don't want to chase those cases, right? I get these calls. I examine them very carefully. I'll meet with the people. I'll go over it step by step. I try to make as critical and thoughtful evaluation as possible. Sometimes I take them, sometimes I don't. All right. I try to keep it real for people all the way through, though. I don't want to be a cheerleader or flag waver. Oftentimes, in fact, quite honestly, most times, people are more than happy to hear straight talk about how these cases may play out, the ups and downs, the pros and cons, and risk and potential upside. Most people understand the common sense, real world application of things like comparative negligence, right? We've talked about that too. Comparative negligence means, hey, maybe a defendant driver is 50% responsible. Maybe the injury victim is 50% responsible. There can be an an apportionment of liability or fault under those circumstances. I've had plenty of conversations with clients where I tell them very plainly something is better than nothing as long as it makes sense for everyone involved, the family, the victims, and myself. It can be worthwhile, even if it doesn't necessarily solve all their problems. So, again, if you have situations involving those three scenarios, and there are others too, this is just three examples of hard cases and hard situations that are at least worth a consult, worth a phone call, and then we can all decide how to go from there.